Guys, and today we'll be doing a Spider-Man tier list. Not much to say, but this probably is the last video I make before I go to camp, and yeah, so let's get started. Alright, so in the tier list we got Swings Beyond the World. With great power comes great responsibility. Spidey saves the day again. Quite a friendly neighborhood and doesn't stick the landing, but it was a damn good swing. And I just want to note that I think I like all of these movies. I don't think any of them are bad in my opinion. Even some of the ones that have a lot of issues, but they're a lot of fun. So there you go. Not much to say, I guess, but yeah, I think we can get right into it. And yeah, I feel like I'm missing something, but I don't know what else to say. So, right at the beginning, we got the first Spider-Man, and right away it's going really high. It's between these two, but okay, this is hard. I want to put it here, but this one. It has a couple of issues. You know what? This is one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. But in regards to just this tier list and comparing to these rest of the movies, I don't want to have more than I only want to have like one or two movies in this one. But so there you go. We're gonna put it in great power comes great responsibility. What an amazing film to kick off this franchise. I think you got an amazing you just got an amazing set of characters and everything. Everything just starts off really well. I absolutely love the origin story. It's probably my second favorite origin. What is going on? The fire smoke detector. Alright, so going back, this movie might have the second best origin story of all time, probably. It's either this or Batman Begins or maybe Captain America First Avenger. It's really or Iron Man, it's really those four. This one might be my favorite, to be honest. I absolutely love seeing Peter Parker get all these powers, and he learns great power comes great responsibility, and then you get obviously the famous whole Spider-Man thing where he chooses the girl or the kids in the gondola. And everything here just works. It's very profound. Green Goblin, it makes for a fantastic villain. Willem Dafoe's amazing in the role. And I also just love the relationship between Harry and Peter. It just works, and you really see what happens in the end. And then you see how Harry is kind of thrown by what happened to his father. And I think Harry and Peter, their relationship is, I think, one of the best aspects of this entire trilogy, especially once you get to Spider-Man 3. And this movie, it just makes it great. I think this is before MJ started getting annoying, and I think she works as a love interest in this one. And overall, it's just a really fun, entertaining Spider-Man movie, and I just think it works. So, there you go. Putting it right in great power comes great responsibility, and very high in that tier. Next one we got is Spider-Man 2, and this is going right in Swings Beyond the World. I think this is one of the sequels that improves on the first one just slightly. I think it's a slightly better movie, in my opinion. The CGI is better, the action sequences are better, the character development I think is a little bit better done here. I think the villain is slightly better. I think everything is just slightly. It's like the Terminator effect on the sequel, pretty much, and this is no different. So this one, you just got some amazing action sequences. There are two in particular. You got obviously the train action sequence with it just looks cool, and you also have Spider-Man getting embraced by New York. That sequence is just absolutely incredible. And then the second one I want to talk about is, this one's kind of underrated. It never gets talked about that much, but the bank tower fight, that one is actually also a lot of fun, where like they're fighting in the building and Aunt May's in it and all that. I've always loved that action sequence. I think that one's almost just as good as the train fight. I don't think it's better, but it's just as fun though. And I think I just love how in that train fight you see Peter Parker, Spider-Man, just getting embraced by New York, and all of that just works super well, and it makes for just an amazing action sequence. And even once you roll around the final battle where you see Doc Ock realize that like he shouldn't die of a monster or anything like that, you know what I'm talking about. I forget the line. I won't die a monster. There you go. I think all of that is just very profound and very well done. I hear people complain about the Peter Parker losing his powers because he's bummed out stuff. I think that works because you really see Peter trying to figure out what he wants to do. Does he want to be Peter or does he want to be Spider-Man more? And I think it kind of shows that a bit more, and really you kind of see what's going on with that. And I think it works in my opinion. And you really see how Peter has the balance out being Peter and being Spider-Man, and you see how that affects his personal life and see everything with that. So I think it's I mean, it's not perfect, but I think it's done pretty well. The effects I think are a lot better than they were in the first one. And overall, I'm going on. It's just a fantastic comic book movie, and it's in my top 5 favorite comic book movies of all time, that's for sure. So yeah. Next one, we got Spider-Man 3, and this is gonna go in, doesn't stick the landing, but it was a damn good swing. And this one I think is probably my least favorite of all of these. It has a lot of issues. In particular, the way it's just done is just kind of weird. The first 20 minutes especially, like everything's kind of going by. It's setting up a bunch of plot lines. You see the Harry and MJ, or I'm not Harry and MJ, Peter and MJ are kind of off. Harry and Peter are kind of aren't bad odds. What's it called? Sandman is getting introduced into his plot line, and then you see the Hobgoblin sort of form that whole fight, and then he gets amnesia. The way it's just done is just super odd. Everything, there's so many plot lines, and it's just like, come on, man. You also have the Venom storyline, which that I really just don't care for. The way it's done is just kind of cringy, and I think because it's taken in place with movies with the Sandman, and especially, it makes for odd. If you just did Harry and the symbiote or Harry and Sandman, I think that could have actually really worked, but because you did all three, it makes it so that they all clash with each other, and especially like where like the first half it's about Sandman, the second half it's about the symbiote. They have to transition so fast to get to Venom. It just doesn't work, and it's just super like frustrating, and so it just leads this movie crumbling down. If you just did, there's so many ways I can just think of to improve this movie and just make it a better film. I'm fine with the emo Peter Parker stuff in place of it, because I think it's just kind of entertaining, to be honest. It's endlessly rewatchable. But it's just it's a very flawed movie. The effects are also very spotty, in particular in that first Green Goblin fight. And also, I really don't care for the amnesia plotline with Harry Osborn. It's just odd, and it's just kind of cringy. And then especially where he's like, oh, realizing, have to go kill Peter now. The way it's just done is just super odd. And I could see a world where I feel like this movie was just done a lot better. I could see that. I wish it was. I wish you got more development on Sandman. I'm fine with the retconning of Uncle Ben's death, actually. I think it actually works for this movie. And it gives Sandman a bit more depth to him, but at the same time, when you have a movie that's so overloaded with villains, and it just doesn't work, and I think this one probably is the one that faults the most from it. There's another one also, and it's pretty obvious which one it is, but I think that one at least I think it focuses more on villains, but yeah, you know what I mean. Alright, so Spider-Man 3, I still think it's entertaining. It's good for the most part. I actually really like the final battle with Sandman and Venom. I think it's very entertaining. They put their budget in for this big action sequence. But again, you got MJ as a damsel in distress. You got their relationship messing around with again. You also got Gwen Stacy in here, which I thought was an odd decision, and also, Eddie Brock as Topher Grace does not really work. It's an odd casting. Topher Grace as Eddie Brock. That's just odd. Alright, next up we got The Amazing Spider-Man. And this one I'm going to go put it in quite a friendly neighborhood. This one, it's entertaining, it's fun, but it doesn't really leave that big of a mark on me because we've seen the origin story again. It doesn't really justify its existence. But the things that work here, which include Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone's relationship, the score, the cool web slinging sequences, that stuff really works. But in particular, Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, they just have this very natural relationship that feels like just an everyday normal relationship between a man and a woman, and that's what kind of works about this. So compared to like the Kristen Dunst and Tobey Maguire, or I think this one feels like more like just usual. And even compared to the Tom Holland trilogy, like this just feels just more normal. And it is my favorite relationship of all of these romances. But where this movie faults, I think the origin story is it's kind of lackluster, honestly. But overall, I still think it's actually pretty good. I quite like all the web slinging sequences. They did just look a lot better than they did in like the Tobey Maguire ones, and it looks cool. The suit's great. The score's pretty good. And, well, that kind of goes with all of these. I think all of these is very great scores, in particular The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and pretty much the entire Sam Raimi trilogy. So, yeah, they're all great. And I just quite like just how this movie, you got a bit more of a high school feel compared to the Raimi trilogy. And as a whole, it just worked. But things that didn't work, obviously I did say the origin story, but the Lizard, kind of just a whatever villain. They didn't do much with him. And second, I think the final battle is just kind of whatever. The whole Lizard storyline is just kind of forgettable. Whereas the first, the Tobey Maguire, the first Raimi Spider-Man film, that one, I think you got a great origin story, great characters, but you also got an amazing villain that kind of rounds off everything. This doesn't have that, so it kind of just leads to a part of this movie just kind of being hollow. And that's kind of how I feel watching this one. But nothing wrong with this movie in general. It's a perfectly watchable film. And yeah, I give it quite a friendly neighborhood. Next up, this one might piss some people off. Amazing Spider-Man 2, I'm putting it in quite a friendly neighborhood. I actually think this movie's a lot of fun. It's entertaining. All the action sequences are just incredible. This movie has probably some of the best Spider-Man moments ever. You got the Times Square action sequence. That's just fantastic. You also got the action sequence. You got the final battle. I think both the parts in particular. You got in particular the Green Goblin section. Even I think the Electro section's a lot of fun. And overall, I feel like this movie, I can understand why it gets so much hate. Like, I get it. I completely understand. But for me, I just have a good time with it. The Andrew Garfield-Emma Stone relationship is just as good as it was in the first one. I think Jamie Foxx's The Electro actually is pretty good. I don't think he's an amazing villain, but its motivation I think works for the most part. It is a bit cheesy, I admit it, and when you get to the end, it's not, let's just say it's not great. But when you get to the end, it's just like he becomes full on energy. It's a bit much, but as a whole, I quite like what they did with Electro. I think he's not bad. The Rhino, yeah, a bit cheesy, but it's kind of entertaining, I guess. And then you also have the Green Goblin, Harry Osborn. First, his place in the movie works because I love the ending with Gwen's death, but it was just too rushed. And I think if you split this movie into two parts, it could have worked actually pretty well. The first part being more about Electro, and the second part being more about Harry Osborn. Yeah, and then maybe add a third villain in there if you did a second part. I think they were talking about doing like a Sinister Six setup with like Doc Ock or something. It was Doc Ock, and there was one other villain. I think it was a Sandman or something. I don't know, or Venom. I don't know. They could have done something well here, but this movie it is a mess. I completely agree with everybody with that. The plot is a bit of a shit show. I mean, let's just see. You have so many plot lines in there. You got Electro's storyline. You got the whole thing with Peter and his father, which I'm kind of mixed on that. I don't hate it as much as everyone else does, but I think the only reason why it exists is just to differentiate it a bit from the Maguire trilogy, and then just kind of to add something new. And I just don't think that's a really good excuse to do that. But it's kind of whatever. I kind of forget about it and just know that just exists. But the Gwen Stacy and Peter Parker relationship is just incredible. I think they did it even. I think it's even better here because now that they're already together, you see their relationship bouncing off, and then you see the consequences of the Peter not going with this promise in the first one, sort of, I guess. But I think this movie is very entertaining. It's a lot of fun. But plot, it's a mess. I think the Harry Osborn stuff, it works for the most part. And then now you have also the Harry Osborn stuff. I like it at the beginning. I think Dane DeHaan's actually pretty good in the role. But then once he starts just threatening Spider-Man because he won't give him his blood because it'll turn him into something worse, that's when I was just like, this is just so rushed, and they are having just problems knowing what they're doing. I think it could have worked if you had it progress, and then you kind of went on with the third film like that, and then this film would just focus on Electro. Maybe had another maybe did a little bit more with the Rhino, but the way it was just done, it was, I think, very poorly executed. Or you could also focus on some Peter Parker stuff. But the way this movie turned out, it's a lot of fun. There are some amazing action sequences and some amazing moments. I absolutely love the score here in the Spider-Man theme, like dun 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 dun. I love it. It's great. But overall, this movie is very flawed, but it's entertaining. Now we got Spider-Man: Homecoming. I'm gonna put this in. I don't put this in quite a friendly neighborhood. I don't think it quite goes in the next tier, but I do think, but it's above Amazing Spider-Man 2. I think this one is a lot of fun. It's entertaining, but as a whole, the action sequences are a little lackluster, I would say. I like the one with the first one, the Vulture, where he's trying to stop the little arms robbery or whatever. Not the arms robbery, the money trading or with weapons. You know what I'm talking about. Where the first one, and then I like the one on the boat, but the web slinging here is just not as exciting as it used to be with the Maguire or the Raimi and Webb trilogy franchises. But here, I do think it's replaced with a lot of high school fun here, where you have Peter balancing everything out. But it kind of leads it to you're dissipating from classic Spider-Man elements, which I do think those feel missing in particular. Far From Home and No Way Home, I don't think it feels as hollow, but this one in particular, you get the gadget Spider-Man stuff, and I just didn't care for that at all. I mean, I've gotten past that, but I'm still not a big fan of it. I also kind of just wish this movie had better action. I do think the Vulture, played by Michael Keaton, is a great villain. Not my favorite Spider-Man villain, but I think he's quite good. I really liked that whole scene where he revealed it, and that was great. But the final battle was just kind of forgettable, where they're just trying to save a robbery or arms robbery. You know what I'm talking about. The heist. But overall, this one, it's entertaining, but it's also kind of forgettable at the same time. But there's nothing wrong with it. It's a lot of fun. I like the whole Peter trying to keep up with the love interest thing. That's pretty entertaining. And there's just a lot of fun aspects to this, and having Spider-Man in the MCU is a lot of fun. But I wish it was just a bit more like classy feeling instead of. I wish it had more classic Spider-Man elements, but I'm glad they didn't do the origin story again, and for the most part, I do think this one worked, and I quite like the Vulture, so that helps it a bit. Now I got Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That's hard. Do I put this above? It's one of these two. I'm gonna put it here. I absolutely love this film. It's fantastic. I love all of the stuff involving like the worlds bending, colliding. You know what? Just for the sake, I'm gonna put it here. I think this movie's fantastic. It's incredible. There's so many just amazing things here, and it's just such a well done film. The only things I kind of hold against it, there's kind of two problems. First, when you get to the end, I feel like it gets too far. Like, I think, there's two problems. The first one, when you get to the end, there's just too much going on, I feel like, and it's like one of those things where it's like information overload, and I have that same problem with Across the Spider-Verse too. And then, second thing, there are a lot of just very forgettable villains just kind of thrown in there, like the Scorpion, the weird-looking henchman guy, and then the ginormous Green Goblin, but then there are others like Kingpin and Prowler that are just fantastic. So overall, I do love this movie, and I love the whole Spider-Man storyline where it kind of sort of knows what Spider-Man is, it knows what Spider-Man resembles, and it does that with Miles Morales. And what it does, I think it just works. It's very unique, very cool, and I feel like the team that's just made this movie, they also made the Mitchell vs. Machines, and then I made Across the Spider-Verse, and I never saw Mitchell's, but I've heard it's really good. So whatever this team's doing, they're doing a great job at it. And the animation is just incredible here. The characters are a lot of fun, and overall, they just made a damn good movie. I thought it was just fantastic. There you go. I think a lot of what's been said has already been said, but like all the action sequences are pretty fun for the most part. The stakes, the whole Super Glider plotline, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I don't like the look of Kingpin, him like looking like that. I never thought it looked right, but overall, he's just got an amazing, profound story with Miles Morales, and the whole like message involving like a leap of faith, taking chances, and whether it works or doesn't work. The fact that he took it just matters. I love that message there. And overall, it works. I really like it. Next one, we got Far From Home. And I don't know where I'm going to put it here. I'm going to put it Doesn't Stick the Landing. but like overall, I do quite enjoy this one. It's still entertaining, but the thing is that I'm not the biggest fan of Mysterio here. I think he was just done better in the comics. I think he's just kind of like, all right, very hammy. But Jake Gyllenhaal's good in the role. I just don't love with the characters because another character that's scorned for Tony Stark. The web singing is a bit better here. This traveling through Europe, I think that's kind of fun. But really, what holds this movie back in general, it's not even really the mysterious stuff. Because honestly, the illusion stuff is all really cool. It's the fact that this has been mentioned many times, but Tony Stark made glasses for a teenager who is dead, and there you go. It's been said multiple times. It's a big flaw here, and yeah. I also kind of just wish it was a bit more like Spider-Man-y. It feels like we're still kind of that like MCU where like we still have like Spider-Man gadgets, which I'm not the biggest fan of that. And I just wanted, even though you got a great web slinging scene in the end, there's still like overall like I feel like a bunch of stuff missing. I heard like that whole sequence in the trailer with the Iron Spider action sequence. I want to see that in the movie. I want to see a deleted scene for that. But overall, I still dig this movie. I still think it's pretty entertaining, to be honest. But it's got flaws, that's for sure. So there you go. Next one, we got No Way Home, and this one's going in Spidey Saves the Day again. I think this one's a lot of fun, and it's fun to see all of our Spider-Man together, obviously. The story's a bit messy, but I can get past that because it's fun to see Toby, Andrew, and Tom together. Is it fan service, the movie? Yes. But is it pretty fun? Well, yeah. Is it fun to see all the villains in one movie? Yeah. It's just an overall fun movie, and I love what they did at the end. I really hope whenever they do Spider-Man 4, they keep up with that and maybe introduce some new friends. Not Harry and Gwen, but like maybe Miles or something. I don't know. We'll see. But overall, I dug this movie. I think it's really good, and I think Spidey saved the day. But I do think it's a bit overrated. When everyone's saying like best Spider-Man movie, I get where they're coming from, but I'm just gonna disagree there. The action sequences are fun, but I think it's still a very flawed movie. But it swings for the fences, and I do think it does get a home run. So there you go. I'm gonna give it and Saves the Day again, but I don't think it's getting any higher. Next one, we got Across the Spider-Verse, and I don't know whether to put it here. I'm going to put it in Spidey Saves the Day again. I think this is another great one. I am not the biggest fan of that cliffhanger that happened right at the end, but you know what? The more I think about it, the more I'm okay with it. But I wish we got a little bit more story in there as the end. But overall, I dug this one quite a bit. I absolutely loved everything involving all the Spider-Verse, the Spider Society, Spider-Man 2099, the whole thing with Gwen Stacy in that arc. That's just fantastic. That was completely solved by the end. I love that. All the Miles Morales stuff, the themes of time. What was that in this movie? Yeah, I think so. Was it this one? Oh no, that's Amazing Spider-Man 2. The theme. What are the themes? The themes of God, I can't think of what it is. Dealing with loss and regret and taking. Never mind. Overall, I think this movie it just goes for it. It shows us the multiverse of madness, and does it succeed? Well, I would say so. It just does a lot of interesting things that just pay off very well, and overall, I just dug this movie. It just worked for me as a whole, and the animation's even better. You just see all these different styles of drawing, and the only problem with it, I'd say, is that there's just so much going on, so it's hard to comprehend it and all. So, yeah, I do quite like this movie. I think it's fantastic. I already talked about it in my review. I don't feel like talking about it again, so there you go. I'm going to move it to this tier. I'm going to put in great power comes great responsibilities. So, there you go. That is the Spider-Man tier list here. So, we got, at number 10, we got Spider-Man 3. At number 9, we got Spider-Man Far From Home. Number 8, we got The Amazing Spider-Man. Number 7 is Amazing Spider-Man 2. Number 6, we got Spider-Man Homecoming. Number 5 is Spider-Man No Way Home. Number 4, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Number 3, Spider-Man 2002. Number 2, Spider-Man to the Spider-Verse. And number 1, Spider-Man 2. And if you wonder where Venom and Morbius placed, The Venom movies probably would have both been right behind Spider-Man 3, and then Morbius, well, I didn't see it. So, there you go. That is my tier list for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment down below. Go check out my Spider-Man playlist, and I'll see you guys next time. Adios.